love Skeet Ulrich, but yeah, Billy lands at number 7. And now we're in our top 6. At number 6, we have Amber Freeman. Now, Amber is badass and awesome and does most of the killing in this movie. Like, Richie snags like 2 kills, and some people think that he didn't even snag one of those, and I'm gonna give it to him. But, yeah, no, I like Amber. I think that she's not really in enough of the movie before the reveal outside the costume. She's kind of a background part, and for most of that, she's just overprotective of Tara, which definitely throws you off of suspecting her, apart from her just being threatened in the opening. Although it, coming from her phone, I guess, should have been a hint, but whatever. Having her filmed makes sense. I think that she has some of the most brutal attacks ever. I mean, she snags my second favorite kill of the franchise, Dewey. The whole "It's an honor" line might be my top 2 favorite Ghostface lines ever. Yeah, no, I fucking love these. I love these movies, man. After the reveal, Amber gets wild, and I love it. Like, she's so crazy, and I love the psycho thing, like, wee, wee, wee. I've done that so many times. I don't know, I love the idea that they're just super fans of the Stab movies, and they want to make their own. I can relate. Like, I've written quite a few fan films, but the idea, and I like that they're like, well, what hasn't been done? The requel. And it's really fun. And their whole plan, I just love it. Like, the only thing that's, like, almost as dumb as trying to kill someone who's murdered everyone who's attacked them is trying to kill someone whose father killed people. So, I don't know. It wasn't that great of a plan. I just love Amber, because, like, she has one of the most brutal ghost faces of all. She's the idea person behind the whole thing. Like, I've heard Boiler interview that Richie thinks he's been planning more of this than he has, which I think is a fun dynamic to both of them. Makes Amber more smart. I would say the main things that drag her down are just the whole, like, in the kitchen, both times when she's about to get killed, she's like, no, 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 hey. And saying that Dewey died like a pussy when he clearly didn't. Those are the things that drag her down. And the fact that I can say something dragged her down when she's number 6 is an accomplishment. Because she still beat a lot of people, including Billy. I think one of my favorite scenes is her and Mindy in the basement. On rewatch, I love her face when Mindy says she's the killer, because she's like, she knows she's not. She's annoyed that someone's taking credit for her work, but she can't say anything about it, and so she's just, like, annoyed. Like, that's really funny. And it plays off well if you're watching it for the first time, because you're just thinking that she is having none of that joke. And then she has a really creepy part. But a lot of people have, like, a creepy moment here or there, so you don't think much of it. I definitely thought the new Ghostfaces were on par with all the other Ghostfaces. Obviously, they're this high. Yeah, and if Amber was in more of the movie before her reveal, she might even be higher. I don't know. Like, the whole planning is great. I love the killers in this movie's dynamic when they are first meeting. And that might actually be the first time they're meeting. They might have only talked online, which is a really hilarious way to plan murders, I think, because it's so traceable. But, I don't know. Their unpreparedness kind of goes hand in hand with why they're this high and not in the top few, which I guess kind of spoils the next one. Number 5 is Richie Kirsch. They're neck and neck. And I like Richie more because I love Jack Quaid's performance, and he really had me going there for a while. Like, I was still kind of shocked when he was revealed. Like, the first moment where I thought he was the killer was the first moment he was on screen. But by the time he's like, I haven't seen Stab, then I believed him. When he's watching it, I still believed him, but then when he says to the cops he was watching Netflix and not Stab, that was a hint. I love that he gets his arm slashed like Derek and Jill did. I love this dude's performance. Like, he really hides himself well, but then, like, on rewatch, it's not unbelievable that he's not the killer, and it's really fun when he reveals himself. Like, that first snap, like, you get a little hint of it where he's, like, asking everyone to leave, but then he switches to get the fuck out. But his first real snap of, like, sit the fuck down, Prescott! That was, like, whoa. And, like, this is serious. Like, he's a great killer, and his kill is the best of the franchise. Like, getting stabbed like that, I mean, that's not really a testament to the character, but, like, it's just something to note. Like, best kill of the franchise is when he dies. It was like, in my mind, he kills Judy, and I think it's pretty undisputable that he kills Wes. Obviously, great kills. I love the way the knife, like, yanks on the flesh there. He probably was the one on the phone with Tara, but I do think that Amber attacked, but maybe he did. No, he did seem kind of tired in the beginning. But you could argue that Richie slit the cop's throat, but I don't know. I just love his dynamic with everyone, though, because every time he has an interaction with someone, it's hilarious. Especially with Mindy right before he goes downstairs. And when Mindy's attacked, obviously that's him. Love the recreation of that scene. Big factor. And when he runs off and he's the last one back, that was really when I was like, alright, he's the killer. But then again, when Amber shoots Liv and then starts shooting everywhere, he gets Sam out of there. And I'm like, wait, is he? And then when he's like suggesting Tara might be the other killer, at that point I'm like, that's stupid. And I kind of had a little bit of a doubt there. When he stabs, I was actually shocked, which I think was interesting. Love that the boyfriend's the killer again, because apart from the TV show, the killer in the sequels has never been the boyfriend. It's always been, like, they've always been red herrings. And, of course, the TV show has the boyfriend be the killer twice. But I don't think that the new movie's counting on you having seen that. Way that they have Richie be... He's kind of like a combination of the love interests from the first two movies, because he seems as though he's completely innocent and gonna be a red herring. But he is the killer. And like I said, with the Billy part, I love the whole dynamic where they're, like, he might be the main suspect, but they throw you off every turn. And, you know, like, I've never seen Stab, and just how nice he is, and, like, how he's, like, the driving force of, let's get the fuck out of town, right? No, we're not gonna go back. It sold me. So, I don't know, I really like Richie. I think he's really fun. He's really fun to watch throughout the movie, which definitely plays a part in people's placements. Beth up like 2 spots, I think. Because the writing wasn't there with that one. But, yeah, no, Richie, so fun. And I love that, like I said earlier, does less planning than he thinks he does, which just means he's a little bit more, I guess, overzealous on the whole thing and not, like, thinking too hard on it, which, to me, makes it hilarious and scarier at the same time. Unhinged. Albeit a little bit. They both seem really unhinged. And another aspect of both of these killers that I love is the fact that we have no basis of why they're psycho killers, and they met online. Like, we hate Stab 8. It's like, let's make one that's real again, so they have to make a good one again. And I love that their plan is thwarted when Gale decides, I'm not even going to make a book about these fuckers. But I'll bet someone else does, and that's what happens. As far as who would do that, I don't know. The Meeks, I feel like they're above that. Moving on to our top 4. In our 4th place is probably pretty controversial. Number 4, we have Kieran Wilcox. The TV series, a pretty fucking good killer. I mean, obviously, he's number 4 out of 16, and like I said, I love, like, everyone from 12 up. Kieran, a lot of what's going for him is that he has so much screen time, and he's such realistically scary, because, like, he plays the long game well. Like, we only know of a few killers that have played the long game like this, and with Kieran, we actually see it unfold. Like, he starts out just kind of, he shows up, you know, they get rid of, and then Kieran kills Rachel because she saw him with the victims. And then he plays dumb to the whole backstory and weasels his way into this already established friend group to where by the end of the first season, beginning of the second season, he's like a member of their group. I will say I kind of thought he was the killer from early on. I think part of it was an editing choice in the classroom scene where Noah's talking about something, and when it says something cryptic, it cuts to Kieran. So that kind of was the first hint, but when Kieran's dad dies and they tell him, I was sold that he was innocent. Also, it being the finale and him having a gun and deciding not to shoot them. Like, he actually gives her the gun. He takes the time throughout the series to train Emma with the gun and like, boost her self-esteem, while at the same time, behind her back as the killer, calling her and tormenting her and trying to break that. And he maintains that shoulder to cry on for her throughout the series. Like, when Will does heroic things in the face of death and Emma starts to like him again, and Kieran notices that, Piper and Kieran then murder Will. And then, of course, it kind of backfires on him. Like, he thought that'd get him closer, but it made her think to back away from everyone. But at the same time, he also wants that because he wants her to not trust anyone but him. And he does a very good job of making her trust him. He fucks with his victims, and like he actually, like the way he like stabs Noah and buries him alive, and then buries Zoe in a box, drowns her in that box, records it, and when he buries Noah, he has that recording playing for him, torturing him as he suffocates. And first of all, drowning her in that box was a fucked up death anyway, like badass. But to then do that is fucked up too. But also then to like have most of these kills are set up to where Emma directly feels responsible. Like the first one of those is with Riley and Brooke, and she's texted, you can only save one. And when you're 3 episodes in and she picks Brooke, you're annoyed, but by the end of season 2, you're like, alright, I like Brooke, so that was a good choice. But then Riley's killed, and then Will, the next kill is, hey, that rhymed. She sets off the trap that starts that series of events, and he carries that through here where, like, Noah surviving is directly on Emma and Audrey finding him or not. And it's very Saw, and I like it. I like a lot of his kills. I love the way he blends and sneaks his way into the group over time and, like, earns their trust to where they'll, like, confide in him, so he has all the information on his enemy's side. I think it's done... I think that aspect of it is probably done the best here, and maybe in 5, because, like, 5 and 2, they have a friend... They have one of the killers with each party of the friend group, but Kieran is more ingrained in the friend group. And I give him credit for being that trusted in the friend group. Like with Scream 1 and 5 and 4, the killers grew up with the people they're killing. So I can't exactly say props for blending into the group or like emerging yourself into the group that way. And Kieran does a better job of like befriending and emerging himself into the group than Mickey, because we have the whole experience of him doing that on screen with Kieran, and that is the perfect way to do this show. And that being the perfect way to do the show might be might have made people predict it was him. I don't know. Seems like he's like, oh, the perfect boyfriend, because he's always making sure that there's like consent with every physical move he makes towards her. He's always asking if she's okay and double checking on her, and he does all this stuff behind her back that seems to be directly linked to his desire for her to be safe. And he just seems like a great friend too, because he saves Noah's life at the first episode, and like he like gives Emma the gun, and like seems very on top of keeping it all together in the finale of the first season. It being like him than like a Billy Loomis or like a Richie, because well, I guess Richie does the same thing as far as like being that perfect boyfriend that makes them want to like stay with you, but like again, Kieran has more time to flesh that out. So many red flags. But with Kieran, there was only like two. One in season 1, when like the footage of him and plus Piper saying that the old lady said Kieran, which I understand why they disregard that after her reveal, just because why would she throw him under the bus like that? And the killer's MO was to like split them apart and cause confusion and torture them. So to me, that makes sense that they ignored that. Is when he beats the fuck out of Eli at the fair, but by that point it's so close to that finale. And they've already had like a year and a half with him. So I guess they're assuming that he would have shown his true colors by then or something. I don't know. His slip up was very accidental. Like, Kieran and Tom both were never planning on revealing themselves as the killer, to my knowledge. Emma finds Alex Whitten, and that's when Tom realizes the gig is up. Kieran, he accidentally references something that he said in the phone as Ghostface, and that's where he fucks up. Every other killer reveals themselves at a certain point. And the fact that he wasn't even going to do that, he was just going to, like, keep this going or, like, kill them in a few minutes or something. I don't know what his plan was. I will say things that drag him down are just the whole way the reveal is handled. Like, I love the acting. I think that he does. It's believable he's the killer, but, like, what I'm saying is, like, it just... If he would have killed Audrey in that third act, then I would have not only liked season 2 more, but I would have liked Kieran more. But because, like, all of the main characters survive, it kind of lowers it. And I will say that Audrey's the only one that of those that I would say I want to die. Just because she's, like, almost because she's going to get revealed doing something shady and just a whole bunch of other shit, but yeah. And the way Kieran dies, like, if anyone died like a pussy, it was Kieran. Like, someone wearing a Brandon James mask. I don't know. Could be Brandon James, Troy James, Emma's dad. Those are all the main suspects they draw towards, but whatever. I don't really care. I mean, I really want them to do another season. Tell me who the fuck killed him, but knowing that they're not gonna do that, I don't know. I'm not really losing sleep. I just really want to revisit the Lakewood 4. But yeah, he gets busted out of jail, or like the courtroom jail, and then he's like, his throat's slit. He doesn't really do anything to defend himself, but then he falls on the ground and tries to crawl for the gun, and then gets stabbed and twisted. And it's a cool kill, but his, like, the way it goes down, it's just like, wow, dude, you were so badass in the first 2 seasons. Where did that go? You know? And number 3, this is going to be controversial again. This is going to be Stu. Ranking these actors, Matthew Lillard would win. But this is not that. Take into account everything that Ghostface does in the movie when they're this character. The phone calls and the kills, I have to think, alright, who did what? With the writing and the way it's implied things went down. As far as planning and all of that, I have to take that into account. Last time I did number 2. And one of them was number 1 last time, and the other one got bumped up just from the sheer brutality of their Ghostface. One thing is that they are the partner in crime that has very few, if not no, emotional stakes in the conflict. They were crazy before, and the other killer either sought them out because of it or drew it out of them to use for their gain. Get is when he says, my mom and dad are going to be so mad at me, which is genius because it shows everything we need to know about his past. Because he's going to either die or go to prison, and he won't do well there. And above both of those things that are in his head that he's dealing with, he's more afraid of what his parents are going to do when they find out that he's a murderer. Use, and he's probably got neglect going on. He's very vibrant and loud and fun, which is why he's so high, but it also says a lot about him as far as, like, he's, like, killing people just for Billy's love, so you can assume that everything he does that's like that big loud shit is another cry for attention. And it's sad. Stu is a very sad figure, but he's a very fun figure. And I love Stu. I love Matthew Lillard. He's always great in everything he's in. Even Ghoulies 3, where he doesn't have a lot to do, but he's, like, always doing something when he's on screen. Matthew Lillard in this movie, I think that Stu, he doesn't kill that many people, though. I mean, he helps with Maureen, and he helps with Casey. And in my mind, he killed Tatum, and he obviously kills Kenny. So, and he kills Steve. Everyone forgets Steve. But, so he has some good kills, but he has less kills and less gruesome kills than the two above him. And crazy aspects of these 3 killers, they're all a different shade of we don't get all the information. And I think with Stu, he's very similar to, they're both doing this for love or lust of the other killer. But I think, and that kind of drags him down below the other 2 that are in the same vein. And also, he just doesn't have as many good kills and lines. Well, I mean lines as Jackson, not lines themselves. because obviously Stu has some of the most iconic lines ever. Like, my mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me. And then, he's gotta have a sequel. All the great lines, all the great lines. But, like, my favorite Ghostface line is Charlie's. My favorite kills of the movies, other than the fifth one, are Charlie's. And I already explained in the last video that I deleted why Mickey's higher than Stu. Charlie Walker. Rewatch. I love his dynamic with Robbie and his dynamic with Kirby. I love the killers that have very little motive. Like, Stu, yeah, he's in love with Billy, but there's this whole other aspect of it. But behind that, with Charlie, like, I think that him... Like, I think it took less pressure on Charlie to get him to kill. He seemed like he was, like, ready to do that already. And I don't know, he has the best kills, my favorite Ghostface line, several of my favorite Ghostface lines. He has Olivia, which probably part of why he's so high is because I love both of those characters. And we needed to have our Randy representation because, like Jamie Kennedy put it so well, he was our voice and we were silenced. And have fanatics. We get like 3 characters that have representations of Randy in them, and 2 that have representations of Stu in them. And Charlie is I'd say the most Stu out of the 2 that I see Stu in, which is him and Robbie, and I see Randy in both of them, and I see Randy and Kirby. And I think that he doesn't kill her because she survived, but stabbing Kirby because she wouldn't fuck him, it's creepy. Like, the whole idea that he's doing this just because Jill is fucking him, it's creepier. There's, like, less to argue against. There's less to figure out and fight your way out of it. Like, God only knows how that ending would have went if Jill didn't kill Charlie. Of, like, the reaction to it and, like, the twitching and shit. Great kill, great kill. Higher on my scream kills rank than most people, but yeah, like I said, he has like the best kills and lines of Ghostface, other than the new movie having better kills and one line that's right up there with "It's an honor." I guess I'll tell you my favorite Ghostface line now, which would be, and this is in costume. I'll slit your eyelids in half so you don't blink when I stab you in the face. That is the best Ghostface line. That is so creepy. That's all Charlie. The best phone calls are Charlie. That Jill is more... Like, she's so close to it that she's probably not seeing the movies for as, like... Like, Ewan McGregor. His uncle was in Star Wars, and then he played Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it wasn't until years after the third one came out that he finally got the impact of those movies. Jill, much like that, grew up really close to this, where her cousin's the main character in the movies, so it breaks the realism. Like, it breaks it to where so, like, I would say Charlie is probably a bigger fan of the movies. And God, and Mickey, the ones that are like hardcore fans of the movie. And that does make that. But I do love the line, "It doesn't happen as fast as it does in the movies," I know. Like that was a great line, but like the whole like 4 years of classes together and you notice me now. Like you're lucky she noticed you now. Shut the fuck up. But it just feels such a real high school murder motive. Like he's gone through high school with 4 years of her like teasing him, like we see in the locker or like by the lockers that she's like, I love to tease and torment him, and Robbie loves to tease at him about how that's never gonna happen, and he's very sexually frustrated. And Jill seems sexually frustrated. He's a fanatic of horror, and that he's derealized, much like her, much like Billy and Stu, and a few other killers on this list. She's able to twist that out and unleash the madness. And I think that she realized quickly that the madness she unleashed is scarier than her. And that's probably part of why she betrayed him when he least expected it. Because, like, Marnie, we shit's off screen, but we see later that she's, like, got her like Hallie and just stabbing the fuck out of her. And with Jenny, it's, like, slow and monotonous and, like, torturous, and he paralyzes her, and then, like, God. But the real kicker is got to be Olivia, obviously. I mean, he stabs her through the hand. I love that they bring that back in the new one. He fucking guts her. He fucking. I mean, obviously, there's two people get gutted in the first movie, but that's, like, primarily off screen. With this, it's just fucking vicious as fuck. Smashed through the fucking window. It's so fucking brutal. And Rebecca's kill, like the whole stalking and taunting up until that moment was great. Throwing her off of the roof. The fact that he was so blend in with everyone and like not seem like the killer. That was great. And I love Robbie's kill. Like another one of the ones that's just stabs that's like really high on my kills ranked. Because like it's several different types of stabs, but also there's just more emotion to it because they've been best friends all of high school. And like this secret resentment for him, probably because he knows that Robbie is closer to Randy than Charlie is. That might be part of it, but also, like I said, Charlie about never getting with Kirby. So that kill's great, and also the fact that it's live streamed to all of Robbie's fans, which is just amazing. Like the Charlie Robbie dynamic and Kirby are part of what makes that movie great, so I have to put Charlie this high. Plus, just all of the, like I said, the lines and the kills. So I'm gonna move on. By now, Mickey, Timothy Oliphant. And like I said, if I was doing this just based on the actors alone and like all their work and not just these, and like not taking into account all the things they do as Ghostface and shit, Timothy Oliphant would be number 2 behind Lillard. But Mickey is just such a great killer. Like he's the first one of these killers, well, other than Tom, where before any of the events of the movies take place. They are actively killing people. They're on a website for people that do that. And Mickey is sought out by Mrs. Loomis. He like takes in the stab story of what happened. And being a film buff like myself, another again relatability with these top 3. I'm gonna do the sequel, the bigger, the badder, carry on what they started. Now, Mrs. Loomis is the beginning of it. Obviously, she's like got this revenge kick that she wants, and she wants help killing these last few. And that's just too much genius for him not take, because like he is a sick fuck, and he's inherently like thinking of like, I want to be a famous serial killer. I want the numbers. I want to use the movies drove me crazy as a way to get out of murder in a court case and take credit for all of these kills. And lots of killers like the idea of publicly saying they have more kills than most. So that idea behind makes the most sense out of every installment besides the original and the show, because after part 2, going after Sydney is suicidal. And the motives never seem to be good enough to counteract that. But with Mickey, I understand thinking that maybe you could finish what they started. But the idea that she's killed so many by this point, it kind of lessens the believability a little bit. But I think Mickey succeeds in making the bigger, badder sequel. There's more kills, and they're more brutal kills. He doesn't snag the most meaningful kill of Randy, but, I like Randy, so that might be part of, like maybe if he did kill Randy, it would have lowered him a little bit. I love Oliphant in anything he's in, really, and this is not an exception. When I found out he was in this, it was amazing. Way too young to be watching horror movies, which, if you watch the channel by now, you know that I've started watching fucked up horror movies at like 2. So, only things that I remembered as a kid before I watched all these when I was like 11 or 12 or some shit. He was actually probably closer to getting what he wanted than Jill, maybe even. I know that's kind of a leap, but like, all he had to do was not jump up and get shot. If he'd have like made it and they got away and he got to the hospital, he would have gotten his court case, Granted, Sydney might have walked over there and popped him in the head anyway, and maybe that's the instinct to like attack instead of take that, but I don't know. That's really my only negative besides that Timothy Olyphant's not in enough of the movie. Character the whole way through. Like, I'm have surpassed the originals. Like, I can think of few franchises where the sequels are just bad. Like, now, it's funny because the examples they come up with, I disagree with Terminator more than I like Aliens and Terminator 2. But those are popular enough opinions to name drop in this scene. I think it's hilarious that he says House Party 2 is better than... I think that him deciding to make a sequel, without him, Roman wouldn't have tried to do the trilogy. Without Mickey, there wouldn't be a franchise for Charlie and Jill and Richie and Amber to be obsessed with. They would only have the one movie. Without Mickey, Sydney wouldn't be as badass as she is. Like, in the first movie, like, she has to become kind of a badass, and she has help, and they were already injured, and there was a fight or flight mode. In part 2, she's calm and bad fucking ass. Like, you're forgetting one thing about Billy Loomis. What's that? I fucking killed him. That whole scene with his reveal is gold. Like, the boyfriend killer. Without that, then, and the whole, like, idea behind him as a character, Sydney would not have the trust issue she does in 3. Like, Billy and Stu, she grew up with them. Mrs. Loomis and Roman, they're like a distant aspect of her past coming back to haunt her. So Mickey's the first and only to Sydney's friend group over time. But yeah, that idea that someone and befriend her with the intent to do that is what is like stops her, like, in her tracks from talking to anyone in Scream 3. And then, of course, after she kills Roman, Dewey kills Roman, but after Roman's defeated, she just accepts the fact that, you know what? Nah, no matter who tries to kill me, they're the ones that are gonna die. And I love that story arc between the movies. Like, it takes her a long time to recover from what Mickey did, but she does. But I will say, I think that he had the biggest impact on her. If it wasn't her relative, I don't know if she would have, like, cared all that much. But in the fifth one, I absolutely love that she just flat out does not give a fuck. Like, hello, Sydney, and she's like, hi. She's like, this is like not phased at all. Just like, yep, just you're gonna die soon. Just like, I don't know, I love it. That checks out. I don't know. Could do it. I mean, I don't really like de aging at all. But if you were gonna do a prequel thing, the people Mickey killed before he found out about Billy Loomis's killing spree would be the best way to do that. And you can sleep over massacre. I don't remember the other one's title, but there's one where there's a second movie that's actually the second movie of two franchises or something like that. And I don't know, doing that wouldn't suck. But again, I don't really like de aging. I don't know. I definitely don't want anyone else to play him. Or I watched them all again, so I won't do any more rankings without re-upping myself on the material again. But yeah, so yeah, like, subscribe, and all that bullshit.